Hey everyone. Yeah, is using a structure similar to microservices work in the front end too? Well, definitely yes. For the past 4 years, we've been migrating from one of our monolith application into several micro web services. And in this period, we followed several approaches and now continuing strong on with one of it. In this talk, you'll hear my mileage about this microarchitecture on the front end and what we've been through. A couple of months ago, I thought I should only focus on the details related to the front end, but the more I prepared and the more I realized that it's really there are really interesting business facts under the hood, and which amazed me, and also which shaped my migration path. So it was so interesting for me to discover that. And while talking with 20 people within the company, on purpose, I picked from very several different roles, such as product owners, back-end developers, front-end developers, business architects, software architects, managers, business analysts, and all gave me a different angle and dimension on the subject. And I hope you'll enjoy it too. Who I am. My name is Yaprak Ayazoglu. I'm a front-end developer at bol.com. I have a master's degree on computer science, and my BS is in electrical and electronics engineering. And I involved in building one solar-powered car and one hydrogen-powered car back in college days, of course. And I'm mentoring in Lonja, in which we help women who wants to become developers, and we make them developers. If they are developers already, then we help them to become better developers, because we definitely need more women in this field. So yeah, as also Caroline said, I love dancing, and I danced for the past 6 years. I've been dancing like 3 times per week, involved in several dimensions of tango, like DJing. I did performances too. I gave tango classes, organized international events, and I even been to Argentina just for tango. And and this tango journey continued until this little creature joined my life 10 months ago. Yeah, now biking is our new family activity. No more tango. But I missed it. Yeah, about this talk. And it's a migration story describing a microarchitecture on the front end, which allows autonomy, fast delivery, requires tooling and shared libraries, improves the ownership of the teams on their own projects, and all come into life by embracing the change. Before we start, did anyone hear bol.com before? Yeah, me too. Nice. And did anyone use bol.com before? Okay. Bol.com is the biggest web shop in the Netherlands and Belgium with a public awareness of 98%. I think it's quite a big, huge amount. And did anyone use bol.com to sell their products? No? No sellers? Not even a second-hand book after the finals? No? In addition to its own products, bol.com also allows everyone to sell their goods. The main goal of the IT is, at the end, the user will have the very same experience for all the sellers, including the bol.com itself. This image is one of the output of our migration process, and that we've recently built. It's an example. So let's take one step back. So why do we need to migrate anyways? This project, is it slow, or is it getting so big and hard to maintain, or releasing takes more time, and pages are not consistent? Or is it hard to work at the same repo with a lot of people, with a lot of developers? Well, none. Because, those are all business, technical related reasons though. But the main reason is, in the beginning, most of the revenues was coming from what we sell as bol.com. But a couple of years ago, the sellers increased so much that almost half of our revenue is coming now from the sellers. So this is the moment that the decision was given. We need a better seller dashboard. So now let me introduce you to the seller. She lives in her apartment and she sells mini ITX boards, via bol.com. However, her apartment doesn't have much of room, so when she decides to send all her goods to bol.com, and then she decides to send all the goods to the bol.com warehouse. And the Barbara buyer wants to buy one of these and just gives the order via the web shop. Yeah, simple as it is. And yeah, she's not satisfied with the product, so she sends it back to the warehouse. And Sally, Sally the seller was notified. Well, nothing is special until now because there is only just one UI with a menu, with a dashboard, with several links around. It's simple. It's 2018 and it's trivial functionality. Yeah, you can maybe put 5 or 10 developers next to each other and make this website work. Is that how it goes? And maybe it's doable if you start from scratch. But I mean, for a company like bol.com, which has been there for almost 2 decades, you have a lot of legacy code, so you need another plan, and you need to think, more because you need to when you make the changes, you need to keep it functioning, and you need to keep the trust to the people that who are already using you all of these years. So yeah. The seller dashboard, what is it going on? I mean, we described simple scenarios before. For instance, when the seller wants to check her orders, as in clicking one of these links here, over here, actually he's hitting one of these small web applications. And she wants to check whether the user returned these items or not. And then she clicks one of these links, then she's hitting another application. Yeah, they look like there's just one website, but under the hood, it's all separated. And we have this monolith because we are still, the migration is still ongoing, so we need to keep it there. So while going through pages, you sometimes hit to the old pages and then sometimes to the new ones, and we are gradually replacing them. So these applications are like view models. They are full applications with a backend and frontend, but it's just view models. They don't own data at all. This is the place that this microservices and microarchitecture on the front end starts actually. Whenever they need the data, they ask it to the downstreams. So that, because the data is owned by this backend microservices. And no, we have no microservice called ICQ or ASL or like please or barbecue even. So how are the teams organized? And it's a big company and you need to maintain the code all the time. And so there are, and how these teams organize to build these applications. Actually, each application is owned by a Scrum team, and they have the full autonomy and responsibility to make sure that it works. For instance, team 1 is responsible for the orders application, and the second one is responsible for the return application, and each team just grabbed one application. And also, you need to maintain the STD too. Please do note that they are meant to be independent of each other. So they shouldn't talk to each other because then they're not going to be reusable. So as we speak, there are more than 15 applications already in production in which are built more than 6 teams. So let's zoom in a bit more. We talked about one application. So in the front end, we use Angular 1 to Angular 6. In the backend, Java, Scala, or Kotlin used. Even sometimes they use Golang. And actually, all the applications have a similar structure, and but not with each other. They need to communicate with the backend, but not with each other. Because if you remember, they shouldn't own any data at all. They are only view models. And backend is responsible for aggregating all the data, saving the state in the downstream services. So what really happens when you switch from one application to another? Well, simple. It's just a full page load. And the session is preserved within the single sign-on service via these CSRF tokens. Actually, this is what business allowed us to do, because loading from one page to another means some load time. But yeah, business was happy with that, so we decided then we were able to use this structure. Yeah. Let's check the timeline again. So we have several applications right now maintained by several teams. But yeah, but the journey was started like 2015, and the first application, the service was to separate it up from the seller portal was SSO, the single sign-on. So because that's the first service and allowed us to start with this migration journey, because if you yeah, let's zoom a bit more. Sorry. Yeah. Let's zoom a bit more into the timeline. And until now, we talked about the current situation that we have right now, but it was not like that in the beginning. The plan was to have single-page applications, actually, in the beginning. And back in 2016, the suppliers for bol.com was managing their administration and work files via FTP connections. So building a portal for them was not was on the roadmap, and this was a nice opportunity to experiment on. So come the Supplier Portal. And in this portal, it's a similar structure that I just mentioned. Again, several parts are like different applications, but in this application, it's a bit different because it is a bit different because it's a single page application. So there's a wrapper application which owns the index HTML, and this calls the bundles for each application, and then it's all glued on the front end, like, because they're all Angular modules, and they're just glued on the front end. We had a special bootstrapping file, a script, so that everything is working fine. It was nice, it was really fast and good, but it didn't went really well. First of all, it's in action. I mean, it is still working. We have this code. And it was really quick to switch between the pages, but yeah, there's a but. This approach is not maintainable at all, because every update in one repo required another update in another repo. So we always have to keep an eye on the dependency. So you say you are using a library and you're upgrading it, but not upgrading it in another repository. So you need to, then it may break on the production. So you need to always keep an eye on it. So this was causing a lot of overhead. And the wrapper project and who owns this wrapper project? Someone should update that too. And this was the shared responsibility of the community. And shared responsibility is not a responsibility at all. Until now, I talked about two different portals, one the seller portal and the supplier portal. And actually, we have two more portals and that I did not mention before. And each of these portals may need some of those applications too. Say you are selling your products and you need to add information about them. So you may need this enrichment UI for several portals. So it needs to be reusable. But with this setup, it was not reusable too. And that's why we didn't want to continue with this path. So what we achieved so far, we were sure that at the end of it was 2016, the supplier portal was there with 4 different applications, and then the common libraries also came into action, because we were sure that we were not going to continue with this one application. And it was easy in this application to manage the menu, because if you have several applications, then how will you manage the menu? You will have several menus or you may have different menus for different sessions. So you need to know which menu to show. So we decided to have this common library, for instance, the menu library. And each application has registered their menu to the service, and in the end, when they are loading up, they are asking to the service again to get the full menu as a JSON, and then it was rendered on the front end like that. But yeah, back then when they were doing the supplier portal, it wasn't there. So that was also another reason why they go with the single page application model. But now we also have the model, and it was now we were then it was easy to go with this new swap architecture. Um, yeah. So what about the menu? So a menu is like a simple body like that you add to any application that you have, and actually under the hood it is not it is not dependent on any framework. It was just vanilla JS, built in vanilla JS, because we have several versions of Angular. We have Angular 1, Angular up to 6. So you can't have Angular application for the menu. So it was built. It had its own renderer under the hood. So it was a vanilla JS project. So we have the supplier portal, we have the common libraries, and yeah, several the seller portal is there still. And you need one more thing actually to have consistency among your projects. So and this is the shared libraries. And of course, in the beginning, we started with Angular 1, and then we had the Angular 2 components when Angular 2 was there, and we keep upgrading them. But it's not really enough actually, because every upgrade is breaking, and it is causing problems. So yeah, we need to think about something to make it more generic. So that's why we also working on a new shared library, which we can use the framework agnostic components, and we are currently using Stencil.js for that. Yeah, the story is sort of like that. So let's recap. Well, yeah. Now it's really easy to go to the production with the structure, because every team is owning a small subset of these portals, and the changes that you made is not affecting the other parts. So it's really easy. You can even go to production twice or more per day. And yeah, single page applications are cool, but not maintainable and reusable. If they are especially if they are living in different repositories. And also they are glued to each other on the front end. So yeah, be ready for change and make fully independent applications which don't talk to each other. And yeah, business doesn't mind the slow time, so it's fine. And yeah, sometimes you need to be mindful actually how much you split the functionality, because the more you split, then you may have problems. For instance, in the orders and returns example, we had a case. Actually, orders and returns can be separated, but they are all talking about one product. So if the user wants to search or get a full story of this product, and if they search within one application, and yeah, it may not appear there, but it is appearing in another application. So that was the case that we had, and yeah, we learned from it. And in the new applications, we're just more mindful about not having this problem anymore. Having a shared library is a must for consistency, quick development, and reusability, but upgrades are always painful. So be open to change and migrate to framework agnostic shared libraries. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.